All right. Well, the Angels suck, or are good. I don't know which is which. Depends on what games you're watching. And the Lakers are rocking it to end the year, and the NCAA is wrapping its seasons up. So let's talk about that. Oh, I totally went a mythical morning at the end there, and I did not mean that.
You didn't.
I wasn't. I was not intentionally sitting here going, "Let's talk about that."
He didn't even mean.
No.
He didn't.
This
He,
was not meant like.
he didn't
I'm
realize
not trying
that.
to steal from Red Link. Like
He didn't realize it till I said when
it probably like seeps through because I watched so much Good Mythical Morning, but like
yeah. He didn't realize
do
it
on purpose.
You didn't realize it till I said it.
Well, yeah, you said it. Well, no, right after I said it, just before you mentioned anything, I was like,
"Oh crap!"
I just say, let's talk about that. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh boy. All right.
It just felt like the way to like be like, all right, well, we got all this stuff to talk about. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Like,
yeah. So do you want to?
No, it would have been more Rhett and Link like if I had said all this stuff and you had said, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, do you want to start with the talking about that, or in that realm, and then divulge into everything else?
So what are we talking about now?
What did you? Oh my God!
The Angels, the Lakers, the NCAA.
We can start off with, I guess, the Angels and like the good news that happened yesterday. It's on the thumbnail because I made the thumbnail before I did this. Torii Hunter is coming on board as a special assistant to GM Harry Manassian. Which is good because it sort of leads into the direction that if he wants to step into a managerial role with the Angels, that is likely to happen. So things are moving in the right direction, and I think it's a great move.
Yeah. No,
now bring Weaver on.
Definitely does. Look. Let me just say this now. The Angels' big problem over the past several years hasn't necessarily. I don't think it's always been just a personnel issue of like who we have on the roster. Don't get me wrong, we should have signed better pitchers over the years. We should have signed, different role players and bench players and have more depth in a lot of the years. But their big problem has always been a culture problem because even when we fielded a good roster, we weren't living up to the expectations that we should have for the kind of rosters we are building. And Torii is the kind of guy you bring in to fix a roster issue, or not a roster issue, a culture issue.
Mm-hmm.
And because Torii is culture. He's anybody who's been around Torii Hunter knows that he is one of the greatest humans alive.
Okay.
And I think it's great. I think it's a good move. It's final. It's one of the few things that like somebody convinced Artie to do this, and it's like finally we're doing something that's smart for the organization. So it's one of those things where it's like in the short term, is it going to fix everything? Probably not. but I think long term, if we can get him to stick around with the organization, it'll bode well for the organization, even if Artie never sells the team. Which I mean, come on, he has to eventually.
You never know.
But anyways,
no, like I said, I think
my ringing endorsement of Torii Hunter, one of the greatest humans alive, coming in to be part of the Angels organization again. I'm all on board with it.
No, I think it's a good move, and like it wouldn't shock me if he was the bench coach next year. It kind of seemed like, honestly, I think they wanted him to be on the coaching staff. It was just a matter of like where, and they couldn't agree on it. And I'm
wondering if this was a Ron Washington thing, or
I think it was a Ron
else in the organization.
I think it was. I wonder if it was a Ron Washington thing because, like I said, the original inkling was Ron Washington wanted him to be a first base coach for the team. But Torii ultimately wants managed, and as he said, like, not too many first base coaches go into managing. So I wonder if this was sort of like I don't want to say like a middle ground, but a thing of like, okay, go this route. So if you're here for a year, and then when they then they
Have him
can
be the Scott Service of the organization.
not necessarily be the Scott Service of the organization, but like eventually like bring him down into a bench coaching role. Scott, by the way, fuck Scott Service. I hate that man.
No.
But
Do you get what I'm saying? In the
I
sense
don't
of,
think.
like,
I mean,
Jerry
yeah, I
DeVoto,
guess.
like literally had him as his right hand man.
I don't think.
So when he was moved to Seattle, he was like,
yeah, he wanted his little puppet down there.
yeah,
Like,
no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
but I don't know. I think if anyone's in that role, probably Montgomery I think is more of like Perry's puppet, but I don't think he's even that. Like, I don't think he's even necessarily like Perry's puppet.
Real quick tangent. Were you aware of who Scott Service was when he was with the Angels?
I to a degree, but it was one of those like
I remember when they put him
when it comes to like
Photo put him in as a manager.
I kind of laughed because the funny thing was Scott Service stayed after DePoto left, so the fact that he went up north was very odd. But then, sort of like reading in more into the situation of what Jerry did, I'm like, no, that makes sense that he would take a slimy little snake like Service up there. And ever since then, I'm like, Service, like, I hate the Mariners front office with a fiery passion. And I've talked to like other creators who are Mariners fans, and I'm like, I don't know how you root for this this. And I even called somebody. I go, Jerry DePoto's a whiny child, sniveling, snot-nosed baby who didn't get his way with the Angels, left them in ruins, went up north, and he's going to leave you guys in ruins too. And they're like, no, blah, 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 blah. The simple fact that he hasn't traded Julio Rodriguez is nothing short of a godsend with that man. Like, he's gotten in the postseason, and like everyone's like, oh, thank God, and everyone's riding the Mariners' dick again. And I'm like, they're not good. Jerry DePoto doesn't know how to build winning teams. He's a fraud. He makes these faux winning teams that'll do what they did. Is like they get in and then they fall apart. He's not going to. The Mariners won't be in the playoffs. They're the fourth best team in the West. And that's what they are. I'm like, they're not going to get into the playoffs. Stop feeding into this weird cult-like thing of Jerry DePoto, where it's like, he hasn't done it. He's done it half the time. And he gets all the credit in the world because baseball loves Julio Rodriguez. And I'm like, you can love Julio, but the Mariners are not a good team. Let's stop pretending like they're like this great organization. I'm like, they're not. They're a middling third, fourth place team. They're the Angels, but slightly better. Like, that's what they are. They have a lot of like good potential, but that's all it is good potential. And Jerry DePoto will squander it.
Yeah.
But I digress. Back to the Angel talk. I think he's going to be what was I gonna say? It wouldn't shock me if they like kind of flip Montgomery into back into like the front office role, and then like Torii Hunter moves into a bench role. It wouldn't shock me because that's where Montgomery kind of was to begin with. So that wouldn't shock me if that flip took place or something to that regard happened. But I don't like that wouldn't shock me, but I think it sort of depends on what Torii wants to do next year. Like I said, that it wouldn't really shock me, but
well,
but
you have
I think
morale boost for Trout too.
Yeah,
so.
But I do think that was part of the reason why Montgomery was stayed on as the bench coach through the regime change, because I think they wanted, because originally they said they wanted Clint Hurdle, but Torii didn't want to pay Clint Hurdle the money. But I wonder if that really wasn't the case, that they really wanted to give it to Torii, but Torii was very hesitant to take it. I wonder if that was the actual case. Because it's sort of I'm sort of thinking that was the case, that's what they wanted to do, but because that list got leaked, it was sort of like, whoa, because it wouldn't shock me if Ron Washington like would want to take Torii on and be like, this is going to be your team when I retire, sort of situation.
Sure,
but I wonder if they'll bring Weaver on in a sort of similar role.
I hope so, because Weaver over the years has been like, I love the Angels, and like the Angels have basically been like, who are you? And it's just like it's always rubbed me the wrong way. So
I think, like I said, I think the regime change with Ron Washington, who's highly respected, and people respect him outside of the organization, inside the organization, and having like that culture change, and someone who pulled a team meeting after game 2 because they got their asses handed to him, and it's just sort of like does stuff like that. I think says a lot. More so than like I think Beyond the Halo said on Twitter was like he did that after game 2. I don't think the Angels' last 3 managers would have done that after game 10.
Yeah,
which I think says a lot.
Look at Joe Madden when the Angels were having that
losing
streak right after.
I said this before about
after Reed Detmer's no hitter.
I've said this about Joe before when working with someone who worked with Evan Longoria's dad, that the stuff Joe Madden does gets old very fast. And I don't think Joe's a bad manager, but I do like I kind of see where it's like, yeah, the antics probably get old very quickly. And when you're losing like that, like I get it, like morale and all that stuff is like all good and stuff, but sometimes it's just like you kind of need to have that like coming to Jesus moment. And if you're not willing to have that like it doesn't have to be a bad conversation, but it can like, you know, like
if memory serves correctly, didn't Joe Madden like wasn't it like
he shaved
that losing streak,
he shaved his head as a mohawk, yeah, and then he got fired. So the Joe Madden's mohawk, yeah. but I mean, like, you know what? But I'm saying, like, but
can you imagine sitting at home with his mohawk,
just
like,
depressed mohawk.
For now.
No, but like, I mean, you get my point. Like, I don't think Ron Washington's gonna let a losing streak like that happen, and it's not like I don't think Ron Washington's necessarily like that far above better manager wise. But when I keep saying this, I go, when you have somebody who believes in the team, and you have guys around them who also believe in the team, and the guys buy into that and take leadership of what they're doing wrong, those like coming to Jesus moments, like if they have one after today, like it's one of those things where it's not like Phil Nevin where it's like out of raging anger where it's like you don't know what to do and that's the only thing you respond by. It's just those conversations of, hey, look, we got our asses kicked, we didn't play our game well, let's reset it and get to do what we know we can do tomorrow. Like those conversations are different when it comes from somebody who knows how to have those conversations properly and not be like it's like you're not talking down to them. It's just like, we know what you're capable of. Let's do that. Let's reset. Let's leave this one behind and work on the next one. Like it's it's almost like it, like, and like I said, I don't like comparing things to like Mike Scioscia or 2002, but I'm like, that's what Mike Scioscia excelled at, was this idea of like, yeah, you're going to lose games. You're going to have losing streaks. It's a matter of how do you respond after that. That makes you, that is like decides who you are. And we haven't, and the Angels haven't had that.
The end of Mike Scioscia's time wasn't great. I still appreciate what he did for the Angels organization.
No, like there are things I didn't like about Scioscia, but the one thing, and I said this before, and I'll keep saying, I go, the one thing Scioscia did was Scioscia had an identity. He gave the organization identity, like this is how we're doing things from top to bottom. They haven't had that since he left. In the midst of the Nevin stuff, would you have taken Soch back in a heartbeat? I literally said when he was managing, I think I quote tweeted with the picture of Soch managing Team USA. I legitimately said, "Dad, come home. The babysitter's acting funny." Like, and mind you, I didn't like the way Scioscia like handled, like he would play vets over rookies all the time and all this stuff. There was stuff he didn't like, but I didn't like about him. But the one thing he did consistently was this idea of like, we're doing things the same way up here in AAA, in AA, in low A. Like organizationally, you knew when they said we're playing Angels baseball, you knew what that meant. That whole organization knew what that meant. We haven't had that identity since the end of 2017. And we're slowly getting it back with guys who hilariously are from the Braves, who guess what they've done the last 7 years. Oh, all they've done is win. Like, that's what you have to do. It's like you have to instill this organizational thing of winning and this an understanding of like we're going to build a winner, and this is how we're going to do it, and that's what Perry's doing. Is
It's weird.
He's building a winner, like not like the Braves did, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know what's weird? I have much less positive outlook of how many wins this team will get this year than I've had in years past, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because certain things are happening, seem to be on the upswing culturally, like with this hiring of Torii, with bringing in a guy like Ron Washington, and with really allowing Perry to like actually do what he does, a little bit more. Obviously, he I don't think he has the grip over player personnel that I'd like him to have, but because I think Artie's still too controlling over like, oh, I want guys who sell tickets, basically.
I think that's pulling off because there was somebody made the comment that Torii is one of the few guys Artie actually respects. So I think getting those guys in there, like if they get Weaver, if somebody says something like, oh, Artie really respects Weaver's opinion on stuff, like having those guys in these roles where it's like to kind of help
have a voice and
to be like another voice, and whether or not like I don't think they necessarily would side with Perry all the time, but having somebody that can back up somebody like Perry and like some of the other guys in the front office to be like, hey, we want to, like for instance, like if they're like, hey, we want to.
Well,
like we want to
says we want to bring in a guy.
We want to bring like
that's actually smart, and then Artie can say, "Oh, you guys think that's smart."
Yeah, like hey, we want to bring. I'm trying to think of like we want to bring in. I don't know who's a still free agent. Like we want to bring in Tommy Pham. He hits 30 home runs. He can he's a serviceable outfielder. He can kind of like do something or bring in it. Like we want to bring in Blake Snell. Well, why do you want to bring in Blake Snell? I think he's overpriced. Well, his ERA. Against being in the AL East against some of those bigger teams is this. He can do this. He would help, stabilize the rotation. It would allow us to move Sandoval out of the rotation because he's not doing well there. Like, and now people go, no, he's right. Like I faced him and all like stuff like that. Having somebody kind of just say it from that player's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and the other thing, I just like. So what I say basically is like because things seem to be on the upswing in the culture department. If the Angels only win 70 games this year, but things feel like we're plowing in the right direction in terms of being a team, I would at least I feel like I could feel better about the season that I have in years past, where it's like, oh yeah, maybe we won. I don't know how many games we won in years past, 78 games or whatever. But we did this better. It's like I'd rather have a team that feels more like a team. That's been the big thing. Is in the past couple of years, it's been Ohtani and Trout. Like that's all we had was,
or just Ohtani because everyone would get hurt.
And I mean, now look, we've got guys coming up who are showing a lot of promise. Like Neto's a little bit off to a little bit of a slow start, but like, and Shenwell hasn't been a great hitter, but he's been getting on base.
He gets on base. We were talking about like Jake. Jake, Tim and I were talking about that, where it's like, oh, should we be concerned? But like at the time, he was 1 for 22, and I'm like, I'm not as concerned as I would be if he wasn't getting on base at like the pace he is. Because it's one of those things where I'm like, hits are gonna. If he was striking out more, I'd be more worried. But if it's like he's making contact, but it's right at people and he's walking, I'm like, I can kind of live with it. Only because of it, like the hits will come. Like he keeps making solid contact. It's gonna happen. If he was like in that place and he was striking out way more than he's walking, I'd be more concerned. Truthfully,
are you concerned at all that he's a? Now this is something I saw brought up all off season, and I wasn't sure how much I agreed with it at the time. But are you concerned that he's a below average power hitter in the power position?
I think that'll grow. He'll grow into it. Like he's only 21, 22. Like he's not.
So you think just pack on some muscle,
I think
start getting better
like
contact with the ball.
Your swing's gonna his swing's gonna evolve and all this stuff. Like I think something that gets lost a little bit in certain instances with this stuff is like, I mean, we're in our 30s now, but like when we were 20, like that age, 20 to 22, like that's kind of when, if we were like, you know, like actively working out, that's kind of when like your frame is finally getting solidified. So realistically, like, because like the whole comparing to like the NBA, you see it in the NBA a lot of times where like this is when like the guys start filling out more, like I kind of, you know, like they start filling out more because it's finally, they're kind of done growing. They can kind of like start really bulking up a little bit more. So I'm not overly concerned because now, like I said, he's probably going to start bulking a little bit more. Like he'll start growing into his body a little bit more. So I'm not overly concerned. But I mean,
so your thought is he's got a good eye for the ball.
Yeah.
His swing and his frame will evolve to a point where you think he can become.
Yeah, because like
the best for where he was picked.
Because like the best way to look at it, to me, like the best way I look at it is I'm more so like, what's it going to be over the long run? Like in the long term, more or less. Like you can't teach, like my whole thing is like, you can't teach a good eye. Like you can ruin that in a hitter, but you can't really innately teach them to take, like how to take pitches and be comfortable and like take and choose strike scenarios. Like he has that. I think that's fine. Like the power and all that stuff, like you can adjust that. Like there are things he can do to make those adjustments to kind of become a power hitter. But like, I mean, Darren Erstad was a first baseman and he wasn't exactly like lighting the world on fire from first base. So it's not like the Angels aren't accustomed to that. But I think if he's 21, 22, it's like if he was 23, 24 and doing this, I'd probably be a little bit more concerned. But like it's really his first full season. If they have to send him down, I'm sure they'll send him down. We got Miguel Sano, who can kind of fill it too as more of a power guy. But it's I don't think there's really a call to worry. It's just a matter of like let him develop, let him work through it, because eventually it'll come. I think he's a pure hitter enough to where someone will say something and be like, hey, do this. And I think having somebody like a Torii Hunter there who, you know, like, and I don't mean like Tori's the godsend, but I mean like having somebody like that who's going to being with this group and these guys who could just be like, hey, just slow it down. It'll come, start working on this and things will work. Like that's really all it has to come down to. Sure. Isn't like, it's not like a narrowing. It's like it's a big picture thing. Like some guys come up and they'll just hit home runs like the first time. Some guys, it takes a little while.
Sure.
It's just it's a matter. It's just growth. Like I said, look. Like I said, the best way to look at it is look at the NBA guys. How many NBA guys really don't turn it on until they're 23, 24, really, when they come out of college?
And I mean, look how Hoppy's turning out.
Yeah, like look at Hoppy. He's becoming a great leader. He hit a grand slam. He's starting off on a torrid start. Like these things can happen.
My other question is, I feel like we haven't been giving Moniak as much time.
I think the thing with Moniak is, somebody put it that I think because Hicks is getting more time. I think, right? I think.
Yeah, but it's like Hicks and then Adele. Why isn't Moniak? I feel like Moniak.
I think because Moniak. Well, Moniak's. See, okay. Here's my thing with
Adele does look like he's on the upswing.
Here's my thing with Moniak. And this is something like I noticed and I brought up a lot, is Moniak strikes out a lot. Like he strikes out at a 30% clip. And even when I was writing, that's one thing I constantly brought up was I'm like, yeah, Moniak looked great when he got called up, but his strikeouts were still a problem. And they still kind of persistently are that issue. And I think that's going to be one thing that's going to hold him back, is if he were a more patient hitter, sure, you could probably give him that more. But if Joe Adele's the better player right now, then play Adele. Don't force in somebody like Mickey Moniak just because he's left-handed. Like if he's not up to par where like Joe Adele is right now, I wouldn't play him. And if you think he needs swings, again, you can send him down to AAA and kind of work it out. But
ultimately, have you ever seen a trade turn out to almost be so like it looks like it could end up being a pretty even trade in terms of what was it, Marsh for Ohapi? Because
Uh,
Marsh is
was it Marsh for?
having another,
Oh,
Marsh is having another pretty good year.
I mean,
I think it was Marsh
that's
for Ohapi.
it was one of the
It
two.
was kind of like Marsh and Syndergaard for
That's how.
Ohapi and
I mean, that's
Moniak.
really how you should look at it. I don't know. I think it. I mean,
then that seems like it turned out pretty good for both sides.
but I mean, the whole thing was, I think
Marsh is becoming a better player. Now the only question is some people ask, could the Angels have given Adele instead of Marsh?
No,
in that package.
No, because what the Phillies needed a more sure-handed outfielder, and that's what Marsh was.
That's true.
That's
true.
really what it was.
Marsh was a great center fielder, and
Marsh was an upgraded. Marsh is kind of an upgrade to Moniak in that sense. But I think Moniak too needed to be out of Philly. I think Moniak will probably be okay, but like I said, the strikeouts are the biggest thing in my mind. But
I am excited about the youth movement in Anaheim. I think there's something to be said for the Angels' youth in that regard. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily what's in their pipeline, but what's already in the majors. Developing on a major league level. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I like the youth. I think it bodes well for the future because these are guys who seem to be showing some promise, and if they can show promise, then in a couple years, maybe during Trout's last really good year, we can make a good playoff push.
I mean, we'll see. Anywho,
so. But yeah, that's the Angels. It's actually nice that as the season started, it's like not good, not bad, just kind of.
I mean, if you want to,
things to look at and there's bad things to look at.
If you want to look at the positives, they are 4-2 against playoff teams from last year. Just saying. So, bright side. 4-2 against playoff teams from last year.
Okay, but yeah, no. I mean, look, I'm still not sold on anything happening good for the Angels.
But I mean,
playoffs.
It's a better.
At least we're starting out more in a positive trend.
It's a better out. You feel better than you did at this point last year.
Which is funny because we don't have Shohei.
Well, I mean, the Dodgers might have Shohei.
Well, I mean,
can we talk about the nonsense that happened with that home run ball?
Yeah.
I don't know why the show.
We should also talk about what's his name? The Angels play-by-play.
Wayne.
Wayne, whatever Mitso or whatever, however you say his last name, Radamitso or.
Wayne Randazzo?
Randazzo.
I mean, he's right. Wayne was absolutely right. He cooked him, and he's right. Nothing he said was wrong.
Yeah, no. I was just saying, so if anybody's wondering, Wayne Randazzo just came out and was like, all this negative crap is happening for the MLB, and yet they're sitting there and going, let's go back and reverse this call that
from 6 days ago.
Why would you change this borderline call for a rookie player?
Well, you know what's funnier?
End his on base streak.
You know what's funnier about that? Entirely is if someone who was explaining how it works is either the official score for the MLB or somebody in the Orioles wanted it changed. And I'm like, who in God's green earth is wanting to take away a hit like that? Are you really that concerned about something? And I don't get it. I truly don't get it because I've scored enough. I know people who scored for a while, and every single one was like, no, that's a hit. I heard one person say well, you could technically say it's an error because it hit his glove, but it's end of the day, letter of the law that it's what is it more than minimal effort had to be used to complete the play, which it was it should be a hit. So I don't understand it at all. I think it's stupid, but again, it sort of proves kind of what I've been saying for the last week is it just proves how foiled and stupid Manfred is. because like he has a betting. This is the funny thing, and I talked about it last week, and I think it's hilarious that like the NBA has a betting, like an alleged betting scandal with some random dude on the Raptors, right? And everyone's saying this guy should be it, like out hesitation. Everyone in the sports media landscape is saying he should be banned from the league, no questions asked. But when it comes to Shohei, they're like, you know what, some players just don't manage their accounts really well, so this really could happen. But it's like with everybody, like I said, with like some random dude in the NBA, it's like suspend him. The NFL, it doesn't matter, like you're suspended. But it's like with the MLB, it's almost like when it comes to, and I said this in a text chain, I literally said, I go, Manfred has no problem suspending, can't suspend anyone with star power unless it's Trevor Bauer. Because I'm like, any other league, Shohei wouldn't be playing right now until this got cleared up.
The only reason they could do it to Bauer with his, star power, technically, he was a controversial star.
No, well, the whole thing is, and this is something like even I said at the beginning when he was dropped. I said, this is what's interesting is there were other players in the league whose disputes were arguably described as worse, who are still actively pitching in this league, who had domestic abuse. I mean, Marcell Ozuna is a prime example. His stuff was caught on camera, and that guy got nothing. He was out for, I think, a combined 60 days, I recall, and he's back in no effing problem. And that was caught on camera. That went viral on Twitter, what he was doing to his wife, and no one batted a goddamn eye. But when it came to Trevor Bauer, yeah, he was controversial. But it's one of those things where it's like, you're like something that was written with very like kind of minimal evidence, or a fucking live video that showed when the cops got there that was released. Like, how is like it like that? That's the thing that drove me insane. It's like, you had a guy who actively got caught in 4K doing something, and then you got a civil lawsuit, and that's the thing that's the part that made me laugh. Is I'm like, you banned Trevor Bauer. Yeah, he was eccentric and Trevor Bauer, but you threw the book at the guy for a civil lawsuit. But the guy who actively had live video of his situation, oh, he's fine. Like that's the part that drove me nuts with the Bauer thing. But in terms of the Ohtani thing, it's like, why is he playing? Like, yeah. There isn't a person out there who's not like, he shouldn't be playing. Except for like the people who are just dick riders. Like the show base and the Dodger fans will always like, well, he's the victim. And it's like, okay, if he's the victim, he's the victim. But I'm just gonna tell you right now, I don't blame Ohtani for this home run debacle. I think it was, and I said this on Twitter, I wonder if it was the Dodgers who are doing this, because I've heard rumblings and certain things when it comes to Dodger personnel and how they act, but it's not a good look. But I don't think the Dodgers care, because all they're gonna say, all their fans say, well, like there was people defending him saying, well, he really didn't say that or something. And by the way, Yamamoto pitched yesterday, and when they did an interview, it wasn't the translator who helped Ohtani, it was a different guy. So I really have no idea what the hell's going on over there, but they have like 60,000 Japanese translators, and I don't think any of them really know what they're saying, or at least they don't know how to talk to Ohtani. And like I said, the funniest part was there were guys who, and I get it, like there's show base who will defend who will worship them at the mound of Shohei Ohtani, but they're like, oh, it was a translation error. He didn't mean it like that. And I'm like, then why did he say it? If he has a problem, if his problem is he doesn't understand English or how words work, then don't say anything.
Yeah.
Like with the home run ball, they asked him, oh, did you meet the fan? We took care of it. They say like, oh, we had a deal worked out. We took care of it. Like, that's it. That's all you have to say. And then walk away. But he doesn't keep his mouth shut. Just keep it shut, you idiot.
Yeah, no.
Dare I say, it's like, are you trying to hide something?
Look, Shohei went, honestly, 6 years with the Angels being honestly kind of boring in terms of the media.
Well, after the fact, you've heard things where he just doesn't talk to them, apparently, because now that he's gone, all the Angel players like, oh, well, here's what it was like. And I made the comment on somebody's thread. I said, as someone who worked there, who was in like, that sort of like outer like first ring, really not like directly there, but just out of it, every question you would get or every inquiry about people who kind of wanted stuff, it wasn't ever about the team. It was always, well, how does Shohei fit into this? How does Shohei fit into that? And I'm like, I don't know. This isn't the goddamn Los Angeles Shoheis of Anaheim. But like, that's all it was. It was legitimately just like filtering it through Shohei, which is like, which was so weird because like the entire month of July was, well, where's Shohei gonna get traded to? Should the Angels like all that? And I'm just like, what do you want me to do? I'm not a crystal ball.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's but that's what I'm saying. Like 6 years, nothing happened, and it was like you said, like you can tell that for 6 years he was just biding his time until he's ready. He was building it.
Yeah, he was building a brand, and he did it where he could be kind of
he's
hidden.
In the big time. I just think he's in over his head a little bit. He wasn't well practiced.
I don't think necessarily.
I think he thought by being in Anaheim he could practice.
You want to
in that kind of market, but
you want to know something, and I think this is
the market in Anaheim to the market in LA is much. The market in LA is much harsher than
what I think it is, truthfully, and like I said, I think this is kind of where it is, and I don't know why people don't say it. I think the way the Dodgers are run versus the way the Angels are run are on opposite sides of the spectrum. I think the Angels, when it comes to certain things, are more open to giving fans and people in those situations, like catching a big home run or something. I think they opt for giving them the experience of something versus the Dodgers, who kind of just want to get it done and over with. I think that's really the problem, is because like when El Segundo won the Little League World Series, they went to the Dodgers were home, but the Angels were on the road, and they went to both. And the coach made the comment in the Angels booth that the Angels did a lot more than the Dodgers did. And the excuse from the Dodgers was, well, they had to drop it on the fly. They had to do it on the fly. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's possible, but it's like the Angels were like, they let him do BP, they let him go under the thing. Like they met Ohtani, they met Trout, and it just sort of felt like it wasn't like they were forced. It was just sort of like they wanted to be there. And I've gotten that vibe from the Dodgers a little bit, where it sort of feels like, oh, they want an exchange. They just want you to like do this. Whereas like the Angels at least try to make it like something memorable. Like, hey, like Moniak and all these guys like talk to him. Like, did the Dodgers that? Yeah, sure. But it sort of felt like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like the Angels are a little bit more genuine with these smaller details versus the Dodgers, where it's like, I feel like they're kind of like more buttoned up, tight-lipped.
In the Dodgers organization, we're the Dodgers.
No, I'm saying, look, is that what it is?
We're both Lakers fans. We get how that is.
No, I get, but the whole thing, but the funny.
Many years. Look at Jim Buss for those years.
No, but the whole thing.
Understand what it's like to have an organization that's
no, but I get it. But the whole thing was too.
We are the team.
No, but the whole thing is like, yeah, the Lakers had that whole like we're the team thing, but like if there was like
but the Dodgers don't have.
But the Dodgers don't do that
success to back it up.
No, but my whole point is like even with the Lakers when they'd win and they were winning, it's like even with that, it's like they still had like the fan experience. Like you still had like if something were to happen, they would make it fun for the fans or like and stuff like that for at least a little bit. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is I'm not trying to be like. Yeah. Is say that, but it's like with the Dodgers, it sort of feels like a lot of times they're kind of like top button, like, sort of thing where it's like, what's the harm of like having the girl hand the ball to Shohei? Like, that's really all. Like, they did it for Albert Pujols with this 500 home run or something. The guy just gave him the ball and it was a photo op. Like, it's like easy press 101. You just hand him the ball, take a picture. You have to, you handshake him. Like, it's easy.
Look, I know you don't love Pujols, but knowing Pujols, that was probably Pujols' idea.
That's a great idea.
Hey, I'm getting the ball back? Hey, yeah, no, here, how about I take a picture with him? That's good media.
No, but the whole thing is like, that's a good idea. But that's my point. Is I'm like, that's easy, like, publicity. It's easy.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. Is like, why are you not taking that stupid off the tee thing to just, because he needs it. Like, why? I guess that's the part that I'm baffling at, is like, you have an easy layup, you have the easy dunk, and it's just like, I'm not gonna do it. Or it's like, that's it.
You also wonder if for Shohei, they asked him if he wanted to do it, and he was just like,
Maybe.
you know.
But like I
Because
said,
he has often been like
no, I get it, but it's almost like I sort of want to, when they talk about like, well, we don't know what he's talking about. It's almost like, do you not have someone that just explains this stuff to him in detail, or was the question posed like in the sense of like, do you want to do like a photo op and get the ball? No, I'd rather not. Like, is that what it was? Like they didn't explain to him like, hey, it's good publicity, it might help you in your situation, or he's like, no, I don't want to do it. But it's the whole thing of I guess my point is like, if you don't want to do it, then just say you don't want to do it. Don't say you did it and then you look like a liar after the fact.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to do something, you're a fucking adult. Just say no. It's not hard to just be like, no, I don't want to. It's great. Yeah. It's the greatest thing about being an adult is saying no. Without any reason. Just be like, I don't want to.
True.
Not hard. I do it all the time. Literally just be like, no, I don't want to do this. Why? Don't want to. Great.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, but yeah, it's just interesting that Shohei gets on the Dodgers and it's like 2 huge messes within like a couple weeks.
And the best part is, one was very easy to avoid.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and it's like I said, I go, wow, he can't stop lying and he's a giant asshole.
No, yeah. So, all right. I guess we'll move on from that. But yeah, no, it's interesting to watch kind of across the 5. Or
yeah,
whatever,
it's great when you're not directly in it and you're just watching the slope the fire manifest. That's it's like,
nice
oh,
to have these issues and not be. Wow, look at how trashy the Angels organization is.
You know, that's so true. It's like, God, the Angels are, you know, everyone's like, the Angels are such a bad organization. They can't even give the girl the ball. They couldn't just, you know, they had to, they robbed her of an experience. Blah, blah, blah.
The Dodgers are the sweetheart.
Yeah, so. I know. That's like, it was a miscommunication, guys. It was nothing. It was fine. It was a silly miscommunication. We just don't have good translators. You know, like, oh, cry me, oh, it's like, oh, Christ.
No, so it is. But moving on, I guess we'll talk about the Lakers.
I know nothing about the Lakers. So what are the Lakers doing?
They are 9-1 in their past 10 games.
Nice.
And they could potentially, as you were mentioning last night on our stream, they still have the potential to end up in the 6th seed.
Yep.
And not have to worry about doing a play-in tournament. And as it is, if they at least end up in the 7 or 8 seed, they at least have 2 chances to make it into a first-round series. I don't think they need 2 chances. I think they'll beat whoever they play if they have to do a play-in. But no, it's just interesting to see because like they've clinched a play-in spot.
Yeah, at least for now.
So no, they've clinched a play-in spot.
Oh, they did?
They clinched a play-in spot. They're guaranteed. Houston's out of the playoffs. So
no.
All the playoff teams, like in terms of like your 6 and then your 1 through 10 are like the mixture of them is decided.
Oh.
It's the matter of
the seeding.
Who gets what seed. So,
oh, gotcha.
So because right now you've got because right now you've got 3 of your. Sorry, you've got. There is. So you got some guys that have clinched the playoffs with the play-in, and some without the play. Yeah, it's the whole thing. But the Lakers are currently 9 games out of first place, which obviously they're not getting first place. But like the Lakers are 45-33, and Phoenix is they're a game and a half back of Phoenix right now. And so basically, what you need is you need the Pelicans to beat the Suns, and then you as Lakers need to beat the Pelicans.
Yeah. Well, don't they?
A whole big thing,
well, I mean, don't they say it's a matter of just getting hot at the right time?
Yeah, no. They're doing exactly what they did last year, which is they have this whole season of everybody being like, "Oh, the Lakers! Oh, this is the end! Oh, LeBron, is he gonna leave?" And then all of a sudden, at the end, they're just like, "Win, win, win, win." We've got Austin Reeves and Spencer Dinwiddie kind of filling out the roles nicely, and like all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, we're going into the playoffs as the hottest team in the NBA." What?
I mean, like I said, it's. I think it's sort of like baseball in this regard. It's not so much about. It's almost like you're better off getting hot towards the end and riding that in through, because that's what they literally did last year. They got hot at the right time and ran that into a Western Conference final. It just so happened they ran into the one team that could kind of counter them in Denver. I mean, that might happen again. But Denver,
what you need is the Lakers is you need it to be set up like seeding wise, so that way Minnesota can beat Denver, and then
I think
Minnesota in the conference finals. I would feel more confidence for the Lakers to be. No, it's funny because CJ was right when we talked to him last night. He said he's afraid as Denver, he'd be mostly afraid of Minnesota.
I'm more afraid of Denver than
how they're set up. But as a Lakers fan, I'm
more afraid of Denver.
In our ability to beat Minnesota than I am in our ability to beat Denver.
No, I'm right there with you. I fully agree.
You want Denver to see Minnesota before the Lakers see whoever they'd see in the conference finals, assuming they got.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. If I had to face someone at the Western Conference Finals, I'd much rather it be Minnesota than Denver. I
just want to play. I'd rather play anybody in the conference finals than Denver.
I don't want. Yeah, mainly, and it's quite simple. I don't want to face Jokic. I don't.
I think the Lakers could beat anybody in the conference final. I think Lakers could beat anybody in the playoffs except Denver.
Yep, I agree, 100%. In a 7-game series, Denver. They don't like. I think Anthony Davis matches up well.
Lakers maybe could go 5 against Denver this year.
I think Davis matches up well with Jokic, but it's just Jokic. Like when it comes to like the best centers in the NBA, I think it's Jokic and AD is like 1-2 for the most part. But it's like it's almost like Jokic is like so far above AD.
Jokic is,
which is weird.
The thing is if you watch Jokic, he's not like super fun to be like, wow, look at all that acrobatic. He just,
it's like
gets the ball and he's just like, yeah, that's going in the hoop.
No, it's like I said, it's like when he's a loaf of bread. He's literally a loaf of bread with arms, and he just wins. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I really don't.
But he does what he does, and he wins.
He does. He's like the Purdue center. I hate that Purdue center with the fiery passion because he does nothing. He legitimately does nothing, but he wins.
We'll talk about that in a sec, but it's so interesting to watch Purdue because you'll think, oh, this game's getting close, and then Purdue's just like 13-0 run. Oh, it's getting close. It's getting close again. 15-0 run. And you're just like I can't remember who they were playing. It was a couple series or a couple games. I think it was like their Elite 8 game. They started the second half on like this huge run.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
I think it was like a 30-0 run to start off like, and you're just like, oh, that's how this is gonna. But like, it's the same thing with Jokic. So, but yeah, no, let's talk like. So we got in the NCAA because I mean, there's only so much to talk about the Lakers, but like, we got Purdue and UConn. Mm-hmm. So UConn's returning from last year's.
Well, I got half of the finals, right?
We've got. Did you? Because your thing.
I had Duke
out a while ago.
I had Duke winning, but I think I had UConn going to the final.
I don't think you did.
I could have sworn I did. Maybe I didn't.
You've been maxed out for a while on your.
Maybe I didn't. I could have sworn I did.
On your points, you've got the same points you've had for weeks.
I could have sworn I had.
Or not for weeks, but for games.
I could have sworn I had.
Let's see right here.
I could have sworn.
Well, you're a Christian Minecraft streamer. You don't swear.
I could have. I thought I had it.
Let's see. Who did you? Maybe you did. I don't remember.
I thought I did.
You did. Hold on. Duke.
I thought I had Duke.
Hold on. I'm trying to find your bracket. It won't let me.
I have it right here. Yeah, I had UConn going in there. Yeah.
No,
I had Duke.
No, because you had Duke over Purdue.
Wait, did I? In this one? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Oh, wait. Yeah, I did have Duke. Wait.
Because you
Hold
had
on.
Duke winning it all, and Duke would have had to beat Purdue.
Oh, I had Baylor. I picked Baylor over UConn in this one. That's right.
Yeah, so.
That's
yeah,
right.
No. So, no. Look, that's the funny thing about Purdue, because, like I said, who was it they were playing? I think it was in the Elite Eight. Was it Tennessee? No, it wasn't Tennessee. It was it Gonzaga that they played? That they just went on that like unbelievable run, and you're just like, what Purdue? How does Purdue do this? But like, and that's gonna be the question: is does UConn have the ability to stop their center, stop Purdue's center?
If that's what happens, it's going to be so incredibly boring.
I mean, this isn't like neither team has like super exciting, whoa, this player's gonna take over sort
But
of
I mean,
thing.
to be fair, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I'm just really glad it's on NC State, Connecticut, because I would have lost my cotton picking mind.
Why is that?
I don't think NC State center is that good as everyone says he is. I think they're both kind of unathletic centers, but one's just I think one gets more off because like one's a little more like football agile than the other. But what do I know?
Sure. But it is. So now it's just crazy to watch how these things can kind of just how players, how loaves of bread are taking over basketball. But ultimately, I would probably I've been wrong all along. But if I had to predict, I'm gonna say Purdue wins, all because of their center. And then I think honestly, there's going to be like a thought process for some NBA teams to go, do we take that guy first?
Oh, God.
Could he be our Jokic?
Oh,
Could he be our anti-Jokic?
Oh, God. This is what I need. Just unathletic centers everywhere. My god-awful, never-ending nightmare.
Oh, no, yeah. So as of this video being posted tonight is
tomorrow morning.
Final. Tomorrow morning? Is it tomorrow? So
7 a.m.
Posted tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow at 7.
That means tomorrow night is the game as of this recording. So
for the love of God, please UConn win.
Because you don't want the unathletic center to.
I can't take it.
So. Well, that's Spects wants UConn to win. So. Anyways, I showed. By the way, I showed Abby the. She said, "Who's Purdue's mascot?" And I said, "The Boilermakers." Yeah. And she kind of chuckled at that, and then I showed her Purdue Pete, and she went, "Oh my gosh, he is scary looking."
He's got a chin, that's for sure.
So, yeah. I mean, we come from rooting for BYU as one of the best mascots in the nation. So,
I've seen that mascot costume. It kind of looks like a giant onesie.
Well, but Cosmo Cougar just goes viral all the time for his acrobatic craziness.
I don't know. That Oregon Duck, man.
No, I didn't say he's the best mascot in the nation. I said one of the best.
Oh.
We may not necessarily have the best athletic teams in the nation, but we've got a dang good mascot.
The Oregon Duck, man, is an unhinged animal.
Yes, he is. And I would probably consider him for being above BYU's mascot, but that's neither here nor there. That's a discussion for another time. We'll have a whole other podcast where we discuss
the new girl quote.
What's that?
Oh, he did they were at Oregon, at Eugene, and he held up a thing. Oh, here, let me just send it to you. I'll just send you the picture. Here, he had this sign behind Desmond Howard.
Show notes, or is this going to?
No, I'll just DM it to you. He had this New Girl season 4 episode 344. And what scene?
What does that scene say?
It's when Winston looks at is saying like he's an awkward flirter or something, and he goes, "Shoddy, what'd that thing do?" I don't like. If you have to like watch the episode, it's here.
Okay.
This is what here.
Last time I watched
Here, I
a lot
gotcha.
of New Girl. Last time I watched a lot of New Girl
There.
was
There you go.
when Jake
There
was
you go.
watching it a bunch in 2014.
There. There. I sent what it is.
Let's see. I'm gonna watch this right now. It's the most annoying captcha I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know. Shotty, what that thing do? It's so dumb, but I love it. Shotty, what that thing do? Okay.
Good old Mean Girl. Anyways, back when it was good. I mean, what? Sorry.
All right. Well, on that controversial note, I think we'll get ourselves out of here. See you guys next week
I'll show that to Jake. He'll be
for
mad.
more of Bryce's really weird unhinged takes on television. Adios. All right. Adios, everybody. Guess what his #1 show of all time is? It's probably Psych.
Probably.
Yeah. See, there you go. Bye.